everybody. Welcome back to Reclaiming America. I'm Bill.
You caught me mid-burp there, Bill. I'm Dan. Welcome
Mid-burp
back.
Dan, as they call him in the front
You
world.
caught me in the middle there.
And we've got another good show for you. Got a lot of things to talk about because there's one thing we can guarantee, that there's no shortage of information out there week to week. It is there. So why don't we start out with the update on Israel? I hear some bells.
Our friend Henry, he got a new toy from Mr. Bill, and now you're going to hear it through the whole show, and that's okay.
Jingle bells. It's the time. It's the season
well,
to be reasoned,
yeah.
Whatever. So
I knew he would love it when he saw it. So,
but he didn't want people around.
Let's talk about Israel, Hamas, and the protests.
Hezbollah and
Hezbollah and World War III that's about to happen.
And Iran and China.
That's a good song, by the way. Did you like that song?
Which one?
Iran.
Iran, you walked?
No. Flock of Seagulls, 80s. Oh, wait. I forgot. You were 900 years old then. So you have to understand something. Bill didn't study ancient Greek history. He lived through it. So we have to go there.
And my friend here was actually accused of being the southbound end of the northbound horse.
Okay.
That was going with Custer into his last ride.
Coming from a guy who's so old he farts dust. I'm just saying.
And you're sitting next to
You
me.
better be careful. I got a bunch.
So this is going nowhere very quickly. Let's get into some real talk.
Let's get into it.
Let's talk about the Israeli war. Israel's war.
Israeli war.
Yeah, God, the teeth are getting stuck together. And what we are since last week? Well, we're no better off than we were last week. We are blowing up more tunnels, which is a good thing.
Well, they're in the hospital. The hospital become this big thing now.
Yeah, I know.
And the Israelis are saying that Hamas has a headquarters underneath it. Of course, Hamas, Iran are saying there's not. The U.S. intelligence is saying that there is. Remains to be seen yet, but it's something they do.
It's something they have announced that they will do.
And exactly. So, they're making a big issue of it on our news here in the States.
And on the British news. And
all over, about how horrific this is and all that. And it's like, we got to have a ceasefire. Everything's about ceasefire. Well, where was all these calls for a ceasefire on October 7th and 8th? I didn't hear for a single one.
Speaking of ceasefires, did you hear any calls for ceasefire after 9/11? There's
another one. Beautiful example.
I just don't recall anybody yelling we should let them go and talk.
No, it was exact opposite. It's...
And what happened to the Israelis, in many ways, is more horrific than what happened to us at 9/11. I'm not talking about body count. I'm talking about the torture that was involved, about the deframing of women with the rapes and whatever else that happened out there, which didn't happen in 9/11. Many people died, like 3,000 people, terrible thing. But they took the next step. They killed people, they mangled them, they tortured them, they raped them. They did everything they could to defile those people, dead and alive.
And children.
Oh, yeah. Forgot the babies. Beheading them.
I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if it's still up or not. But there's a gentleman on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. He put a video up. A montage. Now, he's a Palestinian that lives in Israel. And the video was supporting Israel.
I thought I saw that, where he was showing some of the events that happened.
He was showing what happened.
Right.
Like, graphic. I'm going to give shout out to Twitter, Elon, whoever's running it. Whether it's still up or not, I don't know. They let it sit for at least a couple of days because I watched it a couple of times. And they put a thing on it, graphic. Make sure you want to click on it, which I think is 100% appropriate.
I do too.
And I wish Facebook took it down like that.
They gave you the option to see it or not.
Right, but at least we're getting an honest viewpoint here, as opposed to what Facebook did, which is immediately take it down, because he did put it up on Facebook. I don't think it lasted minutes. But again, where are these kids that are protesting on college campuses as far as why aren't they talking about that? It's all, we've got ceasefire, pro-Palestine, all
River
this stuff.
to the sea.
River to the sea, which we talked about last week. The head of Hamas has come out and said it's to erase every person of Jewish descent.
Between the river and the sea.
Between the river and the sea. Get rid of the state of Israel.
And in spite of what you think it is, this is what it really is.
It's not us saying that, it's Hamas saying
Right.
it. And Hezbollah and Iran.
And the guys
Syria.
in Syria with the Yemites, what I think they're called, I forget what their title is. But they're all doing the same thing. And yet, we are sitting there and we're talking we should have a ceasefire. We should give them time. Look, the Israelis have done things that no one else has done. They've opened up safe corridors. They've allowed people to leave. They've sent food in there knowing that even by the Hamas's numbers, 16.4% of whatever is shipped to them goes to Hamas automatically as a tax. And I'm sure it's a lot higher than that.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, and the reality is, if you go back to World War II, let's go there. Do you think after the atrocities that Hitler did, they were going to have a ceasefire? And we'll talk? I think Chamberlain tried that in the very beginning.
Well,
It didn't work out for him.
Yeah, the other example I use is, December 7th happens, and instead of Roosevelt getting up saying, yesterday was a day of infamy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, I'm sorry you attacked us and killed roughly 3,000 people. We're going to have a ceasefire for a few months so that you can continue destroying the rest of the Pacific. We'll have a ceasefire in the meantime.
And we
you let us know when it's a good time.
Again either. We probably wouldn't build up again while they're in the
Yeah,
ceasefire.
you let us know when it's a good time for us to attack. Right. I mean, look, I am pro-Israel. I don't deny it, and I am biased. I freely admit that. But I would argue that there already has been a ceasefire because Israel didn't do anything really for better part of 3-ish weeks, give or take.
Oh, yeah, they waited and
They
waited.
waited and waited. They gave people the opportunity to leave. Mm-hmm. Hamas stopped people from leaving.
And so did the neighboring countries.
Well, nobody wants the Palestinians. This is the other thing these college kids do not understand. The Palestinians were in Lebanon at one point. They were in Syria at one point.
Egypt
at one point. All those countries threw them out because they tried to overthrow the countries.
Right.
They're not. That's the reason they're not letting them in. So to say it's all Israel's fault is a lie. It's an out-and-out lie. Why isn't Iran letting these people in? We know why.
Deliver.
Yeah.
I mean, we would
deliver them. Yeah, we could use the carrier that's over there to deliver them.
They could even be airdropped.
What scares me though, Bill, and we've talked about this before, is, for lack of a better term, the mind-numbing stupidity of these kids. That they don't even know the realities, or if they do, they're ignoring them. I don't know. It's probably a little of both. But these atrocities, the videos are out there. Many of them, because I was watching a couple of things where they were interviewing these kids. Well, you know about what atrocities? Was a few of them. They didn't even know. Other ones were like, well, those are, those aren't real. That's Israeli propaganda. Because the one guy was using his phone to show these kids. Here's a video, right? They're in such denial. I don't know if it's because they've heard from their professors and whomever that this is the quote-unquote reality, and then they're stunned by actual reality, or if it's just blind stupidity. What do you think?
I think it's much deeper than that. And actually, I go back to something that I was talking to John Droz this week, who is I was going
to say, tell the audience who that is.
John is a physicist who lives up in Morehead City and has been famous for years. He has a newspaper article. He has a regular newsletter called AWD, Alliance for Wise Energy Decisions. But he's now taken a new direction, and he's gone into education in North Carolina and what the issues are. And the first thing he found that after reviewing all the state's documents and talking to various educators is somewhere 20, 30, 40 years ago, the state and 48 other states, one didn't do it, 48 other states have dropped the scientific method as part of teaching. It no longer exists.
Really?
Really? Didn't know that myself.
I color me shocked, seriously.
Okay, and what he had done is...
I'm trying to think of what's the one state.
that was the one
guess.
question I forgot to ask.
Can I make a guess?
Sure.
Oh, you didn't ask.
I forgot to ask. It would be a good guess, I'll say yes.
Oh, I was going to say Iowa, Idaho, or South Carolina. West Virginia.
None of those.
One of the red states.
But he has refused. He actually
No,
met with
no.
our leadership in the General Assembly. Then he sat down with DPI, and to his credit, he was able. They first said to him, "You're a scientist. You don't know anything about the whole system." So he said, "Okay, I'm going to deal on just science. Science is the scientific
Wait a
method."
minute. They said to him, "You don't know what you're talking about."
Because you only deal in science. You're licensed in science. You're not licensed in English, math, social studies. So therefore,
So that invalidates.
his opinion. Yes.
So that's
he
them.
narrowed his focus
Yeah.
to science, and he went back to them. He sat with them. To their credit, he sat with 17 of them, and over a period of time, they have now rewritten the North Carolina curriculum to include the scientific method in science. Isn't that such a...
Now keep in mind, all we've heard since 2020 is about science. Believe science. And yet, as we all know, without getting us in trouble, science is whatever your opinion is that fits the particular
Well,
science you like. But
Male, female, whatever.
as I always remind people, there were peer-reviewed studies that showed cigarette smoking was healthy for you. That are still out there, by the way. They've never been retracted.
The other thing he's now working on, and I've been very fortunate because he's asked me to work with him on it.
He's in trouble.
Yep, he is. But he also went through a 500-page document that they put out on their standards.
Yep.
Okay. And found out that they have dropped critical thinking in the standards.
That I'm not surprised at all. In
But-
fact, I'm sure that was planned.
But that's where I'm heading with when you start you're shocked that these kids don't know what they're talking about. They were never taught critical thinking.
And I respect that and I understand it. I don't disagree with you. But at some point, you've got to take responsibility for your own brain.
If you've been taught all along that whatever they feed you is what you regurgitate,
I get it.
and you don't sit there and you critically think about it and maybe come up with a different opinion, nothing's going to change. And what scares me is these are the people going to take over in a few years.
Well, you and I will be dead, thank God. But unfortunately, our children and grandchildren are the ones that are going to suffer for it.
I wasn't planning on checking out anytime soon. But
Well, but the way the millennials are going, by the time they take power, Gen X will, actually, I don't know if you saw that. Somebody was talking about it not too long ago, that Gen X is going to actually be the ones that follow us, not because the millennials don't want to be politicians.
no, they
as
don't want
a
to be
generation.
anything. They want to live in a
They're
small little
They're
rental
too lackadaisical.
and
Was
they
the
want to
word
go back
that
on
they
the
use.
farm and have somebody feed them.
However, the generation behind them very much so wants to.
And
do
when
it,
you
which is
tend to
interesting.
look at historically, one generation always goes the opposite of the next. It's just been that
Pretty
way.
much, yeah.
That
Yeah,
pendulum
that's
has
true.
always swung left and right. Yeah, and I'm glad that we're swinging the other way, and I want to
Well,
watch
there's
these
that.
kids
You know,
take
there's
over.
the turning theories. You know, we're in the fourth turning, and that ends
But
in
anyway,
2028
back to-
and all that. But anyway,
That's the reason why you got all these wonderful people saying what they did. But tied to that, and I found absolutely fascinating this weekend, is when these all wonderful, smart people descended on the Democratic headquarters.
yeah, that. I was going to bring that up later, but let's go with it. You know, it's funny to see the chickens coming home to roost for the Democratic Party on many fronts.
Absolutely.
You know, defund the police came back to bite them in the ass.
But
Funny
funny
how-
how Marcus Spock is the roll ass.
Yeah, well, Jan 6 was now repeated a few weeks back,
Yep.
where they stormed the Capitol. Oops.
But it wasn't as severe as Jan 6, which was our people.
Yeah. Other
Our
ones, I
being
mean,
the Democrat side.
yeah,
by the way.
there's a lot of stuff that's coming. It's interesting, though, to watch them scramble and try and talk their way out of it. I find it hilarious, to be honest with you.
Well, they attacked the Democratic headquarters because there are some Democrats that are defending Israel. And you have to be in lockstep with the Democratic Party or you're dead.
You follow the far left woke agenda, and if you vary from it by a millimeter, you become a target. And some of these Democratic politicians, including Schumer, by the way, are starting to feel it.
Yeah, they should.
Because Schumer's pro-Israel, he's
Schumer
got
may be pro-Israel, but he's got a weather vane up.
he does, but he's also, and you know this as well as I do, there's a lot of Jewish people in his area.
Well, that doesn't go any different
Now,
for AOC,
obviously,
and she's not pro-Israel.
He's a state senator, but so the whole state votes for him. But let's be honest, New York City is who
We'll decide if he wins or loses.
And there's a very large Jewish population in New York City, and he's got to be careful. Because guess what? The Adirondacks and middle of the state, they ain't voting for him.
Nope. And if he loses 50% of that state or a third of that city,
he's done.
He's not coming back.
Done. So it's, watching him scramble, watching a few other, even AOC has scrambled, Bill, because.
Yeah, she has.
She.
Well, I told you the other day.
Did you see the one interview with her, by the way?
I've seen a few, so which one are we talking
about? The one where she pontificated about Israel and Hamas, and then the person interviewing her basically put her feet to the fire, and she came back and go, I'm not an expert on foreign relations.
No, she said, I'm not an expert on anything, and she's right there.
And it was just like, even the interviewer who was trying to help her. It was like, what? Again, bra size more than IQ.
She comes from. You just don't give up on that. You're going to get killed.
It's true, though.
Okay.
In fact, never mind. I'll let it go. Go ahead.
She comes from an area that's very heavily Jewish. And the facts are that only about 11-12% of the people vote, and that's how she wins. If she really ticks them off, and she's already got, from what I understand,
she's got
really
one hell of a person running against her.
Yeah, in the primary.
In the primary, yeah.
Right. Forget the Republican side.
Well,
which many
Republicans
people
won't
are
do
trying
anything
to.
anyway, but and even if they did, they wouldn't get anywhere. But yeah, the person in the primary, and forgive me, I forget her name right now, but
and she's
Palestinian. There's actually, I believe there's a couple of them actually that are potentially running against her.
The only danger there is they split the vote and she walks in.
But the one that you mentioned was, I believe she is Palestinian or
she may be running against Talib, though.
But what's that?
She might be running against Talib.
Yeah, it could be. But that's another scenario, right? Talib's in trouble too. All of them are. All of the quote-unquote squad are. Talib's the exception. She's still being out there. But the rest of them, if you notice, have kind of backed off.
In the military, we call it hold desolate.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out moving forward. I mean, they're going on break now for Thanksgiving because they're exhausted, the poor things.
And personally, I hope they stay on break till January.
I hope they stay on break forever because they're useless. But it's interesting to see how the Democratic Party is splintering. And Israel-Hamas is a large driver. There's a lot of things causing it, but this is one that's really standing out.
And you know what? It will stand out till after our commercials are done. And then we'll pick up on it when we come back.
All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. And we're back to Reclaiming America. This time he's cracking up and I'm the straight face. I'm Stan, he's Laurel, or what? No, what was it? Hardy? I can't remember. You're old enough to remember that. Laurel and Hardy, right? Who was Stan? I forget.
Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy.
Yeah. See what he said. It's like Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, and I'll be Abbott.
Let it go. Well, yeah, Costello was the smart one, right?
No.
I know who's who.
He's the one that did my favorite story with him is the 13 count when he counted up to $13.
Yes, that's even, I like that one even better than Who's on First.
Yeah, I do. I think that was a great one. Great line. I heard about it in ancient times. I read some ancient books on it, but get back to it. Anyway, back to the real topic.
Where we go?
We're finishing up with Hamas and Israel, and
let's hope we finish Hamas.
We our producer over there who gave us a good clue in the break mentioned that $300 million. $100 million, which is a third of $300 million, has come in to various squad places to help someone else beat them.
Yeah, to overthrow them.
And it's from the Jewish community.
Yeah.
So.
And people that support the Jewish community. And we were kind of talking on break about that, and then I also brought up, that I was happy to see that, a rally in support of Israel, or the Israelis in Washington, D.C. had 300,000 odd
Plus, yes.
people. When you look at these pro-Palestinian rallies, if you actually look at video, not from the regular news, because they bring the cameras real close to make it look like it's this huge crowd. Sometimes it's a dozen.
But the only part of that last rally, which I didn't care for, what happened to those 900 potential attendees.
Tell the audience about it.
They were all set to man some buses and get driven to the rally, and all the bus drivers quit, or they just took the day off, left the buses, and these people stranded. Now, if I'm the owner of the bus company, they're all fired.
It's called job abandonment.
Right. They're all fired. They need to go home.
So even if you're not in an at-will state, you could fire them just based on that. So yes, fire their ass.
Right. They just need to go.
By the way, it has nothing to do with their political leanings. It has to do with the fact that everyone has a right to protest. And we should be, like, if somebody were to come to me and say, remember the old women's rally, the pink pussy hats and all those? They bust 3 buses from where I live down there. And if the drivers of those buses had refused to do it, I would have said fire them too.
Oh, I agree.
It's fun to, just not to sidetrack too far, but I knew a lot of women that went to that. Let's just say they wouldn't go again.
There were some shocking things, but a lot of them actually happened during the inauguration of the president in 2020.
Yeah.
2021.
Whatever year it is. What year are we in right now?
2016. I'm heading in. We're in 2023 so far, but we're changing quickly.
Yeah, we're only a couple of weeks away. A few weeks away. Other thoughts on Hamas Israel before we move on?
I just think that people need to get used to the fact that, as Israel says, never again. And this was a Holocaust in part 2. And the only way to make sure it doesn't happen is to wipe them out and make sure they're not there again. Again, if we had stopped in World War II and simply said, okay, we're done, you went back to your border, we'll stop it, that wasn't going to guarantee it wasn't going to happen or continue to happen again. So the only way to stop them is to wipe them out.
We're saying wipe out Hamas, not all the Palestinians.
Hamas,
very clear
Hezbollah,
on that.
Anybody that wants to say that they need to annihilate from
Iran,
the river to the sea needs to have a chance to meet with their God.
Well put.
And I would give them every opportunity to get there.
Speaking of foreign events, can we switch to something else?
I'm with bated breath.
So your good friend Joe Biden had a guest.
Did he know it?
Honestly, from some of the video I saw, no, I don't think he did. I'm not even trying to say his name fully. We'll just go with G or Z or XI, whatever it is.
How about the Prime Minister of China?
Yeah, Prime Minister.
The BBMFIC.
So he came to San Francisco. Did you see they cleaned up San Francisco finally?
They certainly did. I wonder what they did with all those homeless people.
Shipped them off.
I'm sure they did.
Special camps.
They probably all went to L.A.
Did you see Newsom's response when he got called on it?
No, I did not.
Oh, Bill, you have got. If you have not seen it, go see it. So.
And his answer was?
He admitted they did it because Xi was coming. So he only did it to make a good impression on his Chinese controller, is the way someone worded it.
Yeah, I think the man has done an awful lot to prove that he can't be president.
He's proven that he can't do anything. Governor, president.
You also shared something with me.
I
remember, and I'm sure we all saw the pictures of the flags. That when was the last time you saw just communist Chinese flags running along the street? Now, it's not unusual to alternate them, and I can almost live with that. American, Chinese.
No, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No. Because he's a visiting dignitary.
Right.
But when you're nothing but the communist flag, and then you added the insult to injury, you want to share that?
So, in case you missed it, our soldiers. Or no, they were Marines. So the real people that fight for us. Wow, he's letting that one go. I threw that one right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, and Marines serve a lot of good papers, including bullet absorbers. And
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, but
I had one tell me something. The green crayons taste the best, by the way.
I'm sure they do.
Literally, that's what he said. That he likes the green ones the best.
Now, with all kidding aside, and sitting here, and our producer and I are both military and go back, and we always kid among ourselves into the services. But when the chips are down, we're there to support each other.
Absolutely, yeah. We're just having fun with it.
To have the Marines do what he's about to tell you is disgusting.
So they're in their dress blues, as they should be for the dignitaries. Totally, but they're being forced to hold the Chinese flag, not an American flag. I have a problem with that.
Well, so do I.
Because they have no choice, right? If it's an order, it's an order. I just was appalled by that. Absolutely appalled. Get some kid. What an honor that would be for example, let's say there is a Chinese kid that wanted to hold the flag. What an honor that would be for him. I'm trying to be nice with this.
I'm trying to think of how to say some dumb.
No.
Without going there.
Do you know where they sent the homeless people?
No, I
No,
don't.
do tell.
Oakland. Then what happened next in Oakland?
Well, there's
The
nothing.
Athletics signed a new contract.
Well, they went to Vegas, but that was happening before that.
Yeah, but I still like the sequence.
You know, it was
It
interesting. You know, Oakland used to be a great town. Have you ever been to Oakland? I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have, and I've been to LA and San Francisco too.
So there, 11 years ago now, I was actually out there quite a bit, opening an office for a company I worked for. So I was out there for several months, and I was in Emeryville, which is basically right in the middle of the two of them. And I was told even then, you can go to downtown San Francisco, you're fine. Do not go to Oakland, white boy. That's literally how it was said to me. They will kill you. This was 10 years ago, and now it's even worse. And now, obviously, downtown Sarah.
I didn't realize they shipped them all just to Oakland and said, you're on your own.
Yeah, this is like, wow.
Anybody's going to put up a fight in Oakland.
The Oakland people might.
Well, yeah, why, again, this is news to me, too, and reacting to it. Why would, never mind.
Well, there must have been some sort of, we'll give you $100 million towards something else to do this. Because they don't have the money, so they would commit it.
Yeah, the point being, though, is why is Newsom doing it for the Chinese, would you call him prime minister? Big bad mother, you know what?
The leader of the...
Why is he doing
the
it
chairman
for
of the
him?
Communist Party is his official title.
But and not doing it for the people of San Francisco that he represents. So he showed his true colors, who he's actually working for.
Unfortunately, there's also a few billionaires that showed their colors, too. Because they met with this guy. And there's been some talk about there that through AI, they're looking down the road to total control of everybody here, there, and everywhere.
No.
Yeah. And
No, that's not going to happen.
Artificial intelligence, for those of you who don't know what AI is standing for, just in case. And there has been some talk about there that they want to control every aspect of your life, and these billionaires think they have a better decision, and they know better.
Do you remember the movies The Matrix?
Yes, I do.
Unfortunately, they're a blueprint now. I mean, we always joke about 1984, Animal Farm being they're supposed to be fiction, but they're a blueprint. The Matrix, we're going to be all in our little pods being fed bugs, right? Because that's what they want to do. They want us to eat insects with our little AI vision goggles.
Watching the world as they want us to see it.
Literally laying there like slugs.
You know what comes back also? And again, this goes back a few years. The record in the year 2525.
I know the record.
But if you don't know that one,
99% of our audience is going, huh?
It's a song that basically takes you from 2525 to now it's been 10,000 years, and they talk about a little bit of how the world is changing, and at one point, don't need a husband, don't need a wife. There's a large tube that'll
we're already there.
Yeah, and it goes on and on. Arms and legs are useless because everything you want comes from a long tube. And it kind of gets scary because that was written 40, 50 years ago, and it's fairly accurate where we're heading quickly.
What's interesting about the AI, just to I use AI for some things, and it's fun. It can be beneficial. It makes a lot of mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and it's also because it is programmed by a human being. You can, if you want to play with AI, ChatGPT is the one I use. Just go in there, and I like to have fun with it, and I'll say, give me a 1,500-word essay on why Trump was the greatest president ever. And, of course, it comes back, I cannot do that. I forget the exact prompt that it gave me, right? Then I said, Give me a 1,500-word essay on why Obama was the greatest president ever. Seconds it was up, So it clearly is
signed by Michelle Obama. I'm not sure.
It's
what that
supposed to learn on its own, but it's being programmed. Skynet, the Terminator, it's coming.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of benefits to AI. I don't want it done away with completely. I was watching Elon Musk talk about it, and he's essentially saying the same thing. There's a lot of pros to it. There's a lot of negatives to it, and it is controlled ultimately by certain human beings who live in Silicon Valley, who are injecting their beliefs into it, and therefore it is not a true AI.
No, and beyond that, it also becomes somewhat scary for the rest of us because they can program them to do anything they want. I mean, let's look at something simple, going back on genetic restructuring, which, quote, has been banned using humans all around the world, except they do it. They'll take genetic human genes and they'll change things and they'll see what happens. Scary.
Kind of like they do with certain viruses, but we won't mention any of them in particular.
Yeah, we can't mention that word.
That's all we're going to say. But, like
19 reasons that we can't.
To your... Well, high five on that one. All right. That was well played, sir. Again, referring back to Elon Musk, he was talking about exactly what you're talking about, is what if AI goes, and I forget, he was making specific scenarios, but let's say a certain country doesn't have enough water and is overpopulated, and AI looks at that, and if you look at it stand off and take out the human equation, you would go, well, the best solution is to eliminate
a third of the population,
or whatever. And AI would then, in fact, do that. That's a very dangerous thing. And the way computing power is, Moore's law, not his.
I liked it better when it was mine.
Computing power doubles every few months. Think about where we were in, say, 1995 when Windows 95 came out, and 30 years later, look where we are. Where are we going to be in 30 more years? We're going to be under the control of the computers.
You mean we're not? I mean, think about what would happen to this country if, for whatever reason, they exploded a bomb that took out all the circuits and all the electronics.
Bill, we still have the ability to walk up to the socket and pull the plug and shut the computer off. That day where we can do that is not far, or won't be able to do that, is not far off. It'll be able to self-power.
Well, they're already building ones that can fix themselves.
Exactly. That's my point. We're probably, and this is my guess, maybe 10 years away from that. Maybe 10.
And what happens when that machine decides, let's take out inferior things?
And they argue that,
if I were you, liberties, those people on the left, if they're taking out things that are screwed up, you guys are gone. I mean, there's no hope.
The problem is the inherent program behind it will say the exact opposite. But it's going to learn from that. It's much like you were kind of talking about this earlier when you're raising a child, right? If you inject it with certain beliefs from birth, like is happening with the college kids, and they grow up with all that, they're going to go that way. They're going to lean that way. They're going to think that way or not think that way.
But
that's exactly what's happening with AI.
The kids that are natural rebellious are going to turn on them anyway, and if we actually teach them to critically think, we can turn this place around in a generation or two.
If we survive that long.
We have no choice.
Henry's upset. He's going to hairball it there. It's because you...
Henry's going to sit down on strike now.
There he is. So
Henry's here.
It's just amazing. Xi, if I'm saying it right, comes in. Biden does nothing. What else is new, right? And it basically, to me, came across as a ticker tape parade for the Chinese Communist Party.
It did. And they all said how great it would be. And Newsom, if he could do anything more, he probably didn't kiss the guy. And I'm only because they would take you out and shoot
behind
you.
the scenes.
But
do you think, though, this backfires on them?
Politically, I think it does.
I'm not hearing much backlash.
Not from California.
No. Well, not even across the country. Obviously, the right is having backlash, but when I talk backlash, there's the right, there's the left. It's the majority of people in the middle.
Right now, you're not dealing with people are looking and saying, well, that's the crazy Newsom, that's a California governor. It's their problem. But if Newsom suddenly starts to become the next candidate for president, things are going to surface again.
He's an evil, evil man. He's the one that scared, of all the Democrats out there, and there are some bad ones, he's the one that scares me the most.
No, I think what scares me the most is the vice president.
She's an idiot.
That's what scares me the most.
He's not an idiot. That's why I'm more afraid of him. He knows what he's doing in an evil way. Idiotic evil versus smart evil. I would much rather have idiotic evil. I can work around that.
Smart evil will at least go into self-preservation at some point. Idiotic evil doesn't even know they're killing themselves.
Well, fair point. But it's, they're already. This is an interesting point because your buddy Josh Stein.
My buddy Josh
Your buddy, yeah. You talk to him a lot on Twitter for some reason.
I do. I get shut down every time I say
have you noticed, have you paid attention to what he says now?
Not at all.
He's fallen in lockstep.
A surprise.
With we're all anarchists on the right. Anyone who doesn't vote for him, anyone who doesn't support him,
and we're gonna
needs to be re-educated. Let's just go with that.
Well, yeah, and I think at that particular point, we're going to re-educate you to our sponsors, and we will be right back with the next point.
We'll be back in a couple. A nice segue on that one.
Back again to Reclaiming America, Part 3 of this great show. Today we're gonna start. Initially, we're talking about winners and losers.
Winners and losers.
Okay. Would you like to pick one and start?
Sure. I'll go with loser first.
Okay.
Your boy Johnson.
Okay.
That would be our Speaker of the House. So he kind of stepped in it a little bit. And the last time we were on, I was like gung-ho on him, and then that very day we recorded, came out and said, well, I'm not so sure we're going to impeach Biden.
He heard you.
I'm like, dude, don't go there. He's like, well, I'm not sure we have enough evidence. I was like, oh, dude, no. This needs to come out. Now, I saw this morning there's talk about California looking into Hunter Biden now for tax purposes.
I was only going to help Newsom.
I didn't really read the whole story, but, well, that's why I'm thinking, is this Newsom's way to
put some pressure on to get in there.
What did you think when Johnson, he didn't flat out say it, let me be clear on that, but he kind of intimated.
What Johnson is saying, and whether you like it or not, and this is just factual, he's saying we're going to do what we need to do now, and we'll deal with the budget in 2024, which I disagree with.
Well, the budget is a different. I'm talking about regarding impeaching Biden.
Well,
potentially. Let me rephrase that. Not even doing it. Potentially.
You're tying into my loser, which is still the Republican Party, but it's over in Mallorca.
Do tell.
Okay.
Wow, you?
Oh, absolutely.
Who are you? And who are you, and what did you do with Bill?
The Republican Party at the national level had a chance to take the Mallorca, who's in charge of Homeland Security, and impeach him for the rotten job he's doing. And he is doing a rotten job protecting the border, and worse, he lies about it. I mean, he might as well be a physical trainer the way he lies. He just doesn't.
Wow. Wow. I'm just going to remind you what you do for a job.
I just sit around and make people happy.
Continue on.
Anyway, so they tried to impeach him, and we had 8 Republicans decide not to impeach him, including 2 from North Carolina, one of them who was actually up to be the speaker at one point, and Miss Fox, who's been around for a while, and their answer was, quote, we still want to impeach him, but we didn't do the process right. So therefore, because we didn't do the process right, we cannot impeach him right now, but somewhere down the road. The Republican Party, you lost on this one big time. You didn't keep your word.
Bill, it's business as usual for the Republican Party.
Unfortunately, I'm tending to agree with you at the national level.
When you look at, again, when you look at the impeachment process, potentially, they impeached Trump twice with literally nothing.
Well, I don't agree with the fact they should go for nothing, but there's enough there to do it.
That's where I'm going with it, exactly. So they went after Trump for Russiagate, which it has all come out, and this isn't no longer conspiracy theory. They've got proof that it was, well, the other side. I'll just go with that. That might have manipulated
Rhymes with Hillary.
Bubba. Yet they impeached him twice. The second one was a fallacy, too. There is enough on Biden to legitimately at least
start the process.
Start the process.
You know, and the problem is...
And let's agree, he's not getting impeached.
Oh, no. The Senate will never do it because they'll never get the 67 votes to do it.
Right.
You know, and the Democrats will never do that. But again, they had the similar thing with the Republicans. They were not going to impeach Trump at that point either. They weren't going to get the votes they needed to do it. But the fact of the matter is, you want to show the people you represent you're trying. And right now, you're very trying.
Who are you?
And you're not trying the right way.
Wait a minute. Time out. Who was saying that all for 9 months? And you sat there going,
I've been consistent in my beliefs.
Yeah. Give them time. Give them time.
And I did. And the time's up.
Who are you, my friend?
The time is up.
Welcome to the real world.
The term, and I don't know if I can say shit or get off the pot or not, so I won't. But
who are you?
I'm a guy who's had enough of the national party. I still think the regional groups are doing a fantastic job at the state and local level. However, the national party, they need to start by taking Miss McDaniels and sending her home with her uncle.
So go back to our show roughly February, March, April, May, June, July, and August, September, and see what he had. I'm going to cut some videos in on this.
All right, but you got to remember what I said. Give them time. I gave them time, and now they haven't done what they needed to do.
And now you're saying verbatim what I said.
Now, I didn't say I didn't disagree with you. I just simply said they needed time to either prove or disprove your theory.
I have to bask in my win here.
You can be a bastard. I agree with you. There's no problem. A basker or a bastard?
Here's the thing, though, right? I mean, we're making jokes and all that, but this is pretty serious. And I want to get your opinion on something, because this is something I was thinking about when I saw all this going on, all right? If they're not willing to at least start the process on Biden, you talked about Mayorkas. They're not doing anything with them. Everybody is saying, let's elect Trump. Trump's going to clean house and fix this. I'm going to say it point blank. He's got no chance of fixing anything, because the Republican Party is going to put as much of a roadblock up, just like they did in 2018, as the Democrats did.
And I hate to say this because it's contrary to what I tried to hope could happen, but at this particular point, I really think at the national level, the Republican Party is much more comfortable at being a minority party than a majority party, because they can sit there and scream and do nothing, and then go.
Why though?
Because
what's the
it takes a set to stand up and do what you need to do.
I agree with you,
and they ain't doing it. You know, they're more concerned about being reelected and taking care of who they want to take care of. They're not concerned about the people they represent. And unfortunately, it's taken me a while to get there, but I'm there. At the national level, I am there.
Who are you, my friend? Wow. Do you think, let's assume it all plays out, Trump becomes president, do you think it's going to be any different than it was in...
Yes.
How?
Because having control of the executive department and now knowing what's going on versus learning, he can make some moves in the executive department and go after some of the deep state.
He can get rid of some. I'm not going to say it. I agree with you.
Could he be much more effective if he had all three people working on the same sheet of music? Absolutely. Is he going to get it? No. Not as long as Mitch McConnell sits there and, pulls his head back into his shell and just kind of says everything is beautiful.
Well played on that one, too. I actually think at this point...
And you can show a little turtle show.
I just might, actually. This one's going to get you. I actually think the Republican Party is more against Trump than the Democrats are. They just are hiding it.
I would agree. I would tell you that I'm not, of the 200 and some odd congressmen, I would probably tell you got maybe a 60% support for Trump. Maybe a 60%.
You think it's even that high at this point?
And if you go into the Senate, I would be really happy if it broke 50% on the Republican side.
I would be happy if you brought 5 at this point.
Oh, you can find 5.
It's just...
You know, we will not have them turn to salt. We'll find 5 just men there. We can have them do that.
Cruz probably... I'm trying to think.
There's Cruz.
There's Cruz.
Then there's Cruz.
And I'm struggling from that point.
Bud
Rand
is
Paul
doing a decent
definitely.
job from our side. Bud. He's our
You
senator.
think he'd stand by Trump?
Oh, I think he would definitely.
Okay.
He's been a big...
There's 2. I'll give you that one. There's 2.
I
This
think
is fun. That's like a little side.
I'm trying. There's a guy out of Oklahoma. I forget his name, Langhart or something.
All right, there's
And
3.
Langford. He would be there. I think he'd support him. I don't think Chucky would. So up Chuck
Rubio
wouldn't do it.
won't.
I think Rubio would long term.
I don't. I think.
Oh, I think he would long term.
I think Rubio would not. I absolutely believe that.
I think Rubio would be there.
Rubio is a fraud. Sorry, I'm going to say it. He has proven it to me. Cruz, yes. The other ones you mentioned, I'll give you all of them. But people I'm trying to think of the bigger name Republicans, right?
I'm trying to find out who the bigger name
The
Republicans are.
woman from Maine, not a chance. Susan.
Snow or Collins?
Collins, thank you. Not a chance.
I agree.
The point being is that the majority of Trump's campaign is, I'm cleaning the swamp. Now, he could go in and say, SecDef or whatever. He can clean that out somewhat. I just think the Republican Party... Now, one, I'm going to throw this one at you, too, and get your... I don't think they're taking the Senate, even though, what is it, 2/3 of the seats up are Democrat.
30 of the 30-some-odd seats, 2/3 of them are Democratic.
After seeing what happened in the last election... I don't see it happening.
You may be. It's going to be very difficult if they do, because these people.
The House.
Look, they barely won when they were supposed to have a red wave. They were lucky they got a ripple.
Everything lined up in 22. Everything that you could possibly dream of. It should have been a landslide to the Reagan-Mondale proportions.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was a ripple. I wouldn't even give it that, to be honest with you.
It would have been. You can even go back to. Bubba's midterm. There would have been. They would have been. Should have been a landslide with that one too. And Newt managed to pull that one off.
There are instances here and there on, like you were talking about, local elections within the states, but at the national level,
the national level is wanting.
I don't see it happening.
They become a regional party, and I will tell you, if this continues, I would not be surprised that someone would not be starting an alternative party in about a year and a half.
Kennedy
might already be doing that. I'll give Kennedy.
He's already done it. And then
Joe Manchin has done
Manchin's in on it. And he who shall not be named, is that the way we're going to go with it? Might do his own. Who's your, that was your losers. Who's your winners?
Well, I didn't actually.
There are none.
I actually didn't give you a loser, did I?
Or I thought that was.
Oh, the Republicans are losers, because I had two of them.
The whole party.
The Democratic Party was my other loser for their.
You
for
stole
their attack.
my thing. You took my thing away from me.
Okay. So on the winner's side
on
of
the
the
winner's
house,
side,
that's very difficult to find a winner this week. God.
want me to go while you think?
You go first.
So I'm going to throw this out. I think Israel is a winner in the sense that I do think we're seeing a little bit of a change in the way the support's been going, right? The media is making it look like it's pro-Palestine in the U.S. I'm talking strictly U.S., all that. But I think the people started being heard with that rally that happened in D.C. I think that's the beginning of it. You're seeing more and more people starting to speak out about it. You're not going to change the college campuses because they're just delusional at this point. Certain politicians are not going to change to leave. But I think people realize just how dangerous this is for the Israeli people. And I do think you're seeing additional support.
I have a very interesting winner that I just remembered who I was going to give it to.
Henry
is also always a winner. But actually, the leader of China. Remember, winners do not have to be positive. They just have to win the situation. And he pulled that off in California like no one has pulled it off. I mean, he's a winner coming out of that operation.
He got his ticker tape parade.
He got all those billionaires to meet with him. We'd love to know what they promised, but we'll never get that.
Not to
and we have
mention-
Newsom, who basically signed on and said, whatever you want, I've got.
Newsom and Biden.
Well, Biden didn't know he was there. But,
Just saying. No, you know what? That's a fair one. It's not a good winner.
You
right?
know, as the Time magazine always used to say, the man or woman of the year didn't necessarily have to be positive. It's just someone that had the biggest win or change.
Time magazine named a man the woman of the year. So let's just.
Well, look, it took a man to be woman of the year. Just keep that in mind. A real man.
Hey, by the way, quick note. Your girl, Megan Rapinoe.
Oh, I saw her fall down in 2 minutes into the game.
Poor
Broke
baby.
my heart. It should have been 30
All
seconds.
right, we
into
don't
the
want
game.
anyone getting injured, Bill. Let's say that.
I don't want anybody permanently injured. But if she fell and couldn't play anymore,
Careful.
works for me.
Karma's a fickle bitch, isn't she?
Look, I'm the same one that said, "Look,
was
I've
like-
never fallen and broken a bone." Took care of that theory, didn't I?
Well, you did have a nice trip.
Yes, I did, and I scored 9-1 on the dive.
Yeah, I saw that, and I got to be honest with you, I laughed.
I just
Laughed. And then I watched. I
watched
do
her
not
cry
watch.
as she was going.
Yeah, I do not watch ESPN anymore, but I was working out at the gym and it was up on the TV, so I flipped on the sound. Oh, they were oh my God, it was pathetic how bad they were trying to talk her up and slurp her up. I was like dying. I'm like, there's a reason no one watches ESPN anymore. I mean, I used to watch it for hours a day. I haven't turned it on since 2018, give or take.
You know what? You all should be out there continuing not watching ESPN. But my buddy here is going to tell you how to watch us because we're very important.
Well, play it on that one too. So we're on Rumble. The
Spotify.
three people that watch us on Rumble, because no one's on Rumble but us. Spotify. We are on YouTube for now.
Depends on what he says.
TikTok. This one does videos for TikTok, which are also on YouTube and
Spotify.
no, not Spotify.
Rumble.
Rumble. Yep. And then the best place, not so much for video, but to interact with us, is on Twitter. Someone who shall not be named likes to stir things up on there.
And he uses my name to do
I
it.
did not ever use your name,
Yeah, but you acted like it was me.
but I am having a fun time, because it is me, with your good friend Josh Stein, who's running for governor of North Carolina and is a far left-wing socialist who thinks that anyone who doesn't support him should be eradicated.
He is a Stein that needs to be full of beer and then thrown out.
On that note,
We'll say goodbye and we'll see you at the next show.
give us
No more here.
Like, subscribe.
And catch the two of us. And more importantly, Henry.
We're out.